claims it detonated a hydrogen bomb, prompting the UN Security Council to hold an emergency meeting and condemnations to be issued from across the globe. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, citing peace process on Syria and Libya, calls for an international conference on solving the conflict with Israel. And Iranian President Hassan Rouhani denounces Saudi Arabia's, quote, childish actions as the Sunni-Shia divide in the Middle East continues to widen.
The News Today with Lucy Aharish.
Good evening and welcome to the news today. North Korea claimed it successfully detonated a hydrogen bomb, sparking widespread condemnations, including from its main ally, China. The move dampens the prospects of renewed denuclearization talks and further heightens tensions on the Korean peninsula. I-24 News correspondent Ayman Siksik has more.
주체 폐고 2016년 1월 6일 10시 주체 조선의 첫 수소탄 시험이 성공적으로 진행되었다.
International condemnation has followed North Korea's claim to have successfully carried out an underground hydrogen bomb test.
The DPRK's nuclear test, if confirmed, is in clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions and is deeply regrettable.
If confirmed, it would be North Korea's fourth nuclear test since 2006 and the first successful one for the reclusive regime, marking a significant advancement for its military ambitions. Neighboring South Korea said it would cooperate with the international community to counter, quote, this aggressive provocation.
우리 군은 즉각 위기 관리 체계를 가동하고 국방위기관리위원회를 소집하여 국방부 장관 주관으로 관련 상황과 대비 태세를 점검했습니다.
But nuclear experts have questioned whether the size of the blast was large enough to have been from an H-bomb. Analysts say that the impact of such a bomb would have been some 10 times greater than the 5.1 magnitude quake registered on Tuesday. But what if Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un isn't lying? Japan, for one, isn't taking any chances. The country promptly sent planes to monitor levels of radiation in the affected areas. Its concern over North Korea's military capabilities is also pushing it to tighten relations with a powerful ally, the United States.
We stand with Japan and our partners and allies in solidarity in the face of North Korean provocations, and we will work closely together with you in the coming days.
Meanwhile, even North Korea's main ally, China, was forced to align its stance with international disapproval of Kim Jong-un's potential success.
维护半岛及东北亚和平稳定符合有关各方共同利益，中方将坚定推进半岛无核化目标，坚持通过六方会谈框架实现解决半岛核问题。
Notwithstanding the authenticity of North Korea's H-bomb announcement, an international community effort is quickly forming in response.
If confirmed, this action would represent a grave violation of DPRK's international obligations not to produce or test nuclear weapons.
A hydrogen bomb is more powerful than plutonium weapons, which is what North Korea used in its 3 previous underground nuclear tests. The news is putting the US on the spot. Having forged the nuclear deal with Iran, President Barack Obama could be facing another challenge in his last year in office, one with a far more secretive and far less cooperative leader.
Yes, and I'm joined now by Jason Strother, freelance journalist based in Seoul. Jason, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So, Jason, what was the reaction today in South Korea, and do you anticipate a response from Seoul?
South Korea was very quick to condemn North Korea's announcement that it tested a hydrogen bomb. Seoul said that North Korea would pay the price, and President Park Geun-hye said that this was a clear violation of UN sanctions that had been slapped on the North after previous nuclear tests. South Korea is going to play the international game. Already calls from Tokyo have matched those from South Korea, Washington, of course. We can see now that they're moving toward the United Nations Security Council with the hopes of perhaps adopting a new resolution against North Korea. But the North is already the most sanctioned country in the world, so there's possibly not very much more sanctions could do to stop North Korea's nuclear ambitions.
Jason, you mentioned that the international condemnation. We also saw China's condemnation. Will Beijing continue to stand by its ally?
China walks a very fine line here. On the one hand, where it has long condemned North Korea's nuclear weapons program during previous tests, it's also stated its contempt for these actions, as well as has pressured North Korea not to carry out long-range missile tests. Beijing is not going to cut off its food aid or other economic aid to the North. It needs North Korea as a buffer state between its border and South Korea, where you have nearly 30,000 U.S. soldiers stationed here below the DMZ. So China is by no means prepared to cut off its relations with the Kim Jong-un regime.
So what do you think today's alleged test will do to the prospects for the renewed six-party talks?
The six-party talks are all but dead, and the Obama administration for the past several years has pretty much walked away from the negotiating table with North Korea. Washington has stated that any future bargaining with Pyongyang must have the end goal of complete denuclearization. And for the moment, the Kim Jong-un government says that it is not going to give up its arsenal. It sees it as the only way for the regime to stay in power.
Yes, Jason, thank you very much for your insight tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, and now in the studio with me, Amir Oren, defense and government analyst for Arts Daily newspaper. Good evening.
Evening, Lucy.
And also with us on Skype, if he already joined us, Martin Himmel, investigative journalist. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good day.
So, Martin, I will start with you before we start with you, Amir. Martin, this is not the interview film anymore. This is not Hollywood. Maybe the United States made a huge mistake when it underestimated Pyongyang.
Well, it underestimated Pyongyang a long time ago. I was in North Korea about 10 years ago and had meetings with actually the North Korean military. And they told me in their terms why they justified the fact that then they created the atomic bomb. They feel that as long as the United States never signed a peace treaty with them, they could always be under threat from U.S. attack. That was their opinion, at least. But remember, Clinton made an agreement to denuclearize North Korea, and the North Koreans never kept it. So I think from that point onward, once they had the atomic bomb, the door is wide open to develop even a stronger bomb.
So what are the chances that maybe this will be a big headache to U.S. President Barack Obama in his last year in term?
Well, obviously, when you make so much effort to try to stop Iran from getting a bomb, and here comes North Korea creating an H-bomb in theory, it sort of makes a joke out of all this to some degree. I think that it's a bigger headache for the Chinese to some degree because they want to restrain them and they don't want North Korea out of control. It's obviously a very big headache for South Korea, which is very exposed to anything North Korea does. And in that way, it is a headache for the United States. It's just one more of a whole series of headaches that Obama has with foreign policy.
So do you think that it will make Pyongyang, watching what happened with Iran and the nuclear deal, will make Pyongyang go to try to reach some kind of an agreement with the international community?
I don't think that their goal is to reach any sort of agreement right now. They're very, very autarkic and internal looking. I think what they are trying to do is create as much deterrence as possible so that this young leader, who is, in my opinion, relatively insecure compared to his father and his grandfather, to make him feel more that he's in control and no one's trying to depose him, and to create very serious deterrence, which in some senses he's succeeding to do.
Martin Himmel, thank you very much for this, and I'm moving to you, Amir.
Did you note the coincidence? The Secretary General of the UN is a South Korean, Ban Ki-moon. The leader of the IAEA, the nuclear agency, is a Japanese, Yukiya Amano. And the ambassador of the United States to Japan is Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of the American president who started the non-proliferation treaty regime. Yes. So they are all watching North Korea, whose leader may or may not be rational, at least according to Western standards. And expanding on what Martin just said, the North Koreans feel persecuted. They may be paranoid, but they think that they are on attack by the Japanese, the South Koreans, the Russians, the Chinese, everybody else. They have no allies, and it is true that 65 years ago, almost 66, they surprised the South by invading. But now they fear that they will be invaded, so they are acting in a different, even contradictory way. Other countries, including Iran and Iraq at the time, claim that they have less than what they actually do. The North Koreans claim that they have more nuclear weapons. Even during the Clinton administration, as was noted here, they first claimed that they reached critical mass even before the experts believed them. This they do for deterrence, because if you are a nuclear-capable country, the chances are that others will not mess with you.
You know, we're talking about one of the most isolated countries in the world, whether they would have liked that or not, or whether they chose that or not. But who can actually try to come and convince them to do something else, or convince them to come to the table and act like the Western world or the more liberal world, like what Iran did?
It's impossible under this regime, because they fear that what happened with Germany, with the reunification, when the West gobbled up the East, will happen here with South Korea, with its Western-style economy, gobble up the North Korean economy, which is command style, old Soviet style. If the current regime wants to stay the way it is, it has no other choice. And as we saw, the young leader can simply take out his pistol and shoot his defense minister. One hopes that he will not shoot his nuclear weapons with such ease.
Amir Oren, I love the fact that you're always making me really, really relaxed.
Optimistic, yes.
Always optimistic. Amir Oren, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This. Yes, Mahmoud Abbas promised a major announcement, but his press conference today offered no blockbuster. He did not resign, nor he disbanded PA and security cooperation with Israel. Abbas instead wondered why the Palestinians were not receiving the same attention as other regional conflicts. Shaiban Ori reports.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas arrived in Bethlehem Wednesday for what was billed as a, quote, important speech ahead of Eastern Orthodox Christmas celebrations in the traditional birthplace of Jesus Christ. Despite various rumors and threats issued in the past, in his speech Abbas did not sound like he was considering resigning and denied speculation the Palestinian Authority was on the verge of collapse, an option recently mentioned by the Israeli Prime Minister.
We know the situation is difficult and very complicated, and that the solutions may not arrive today or tomorrow. But we must continue to maintain that which we have achieved up till now. This land is ours. We are protecting our land. We will continue to be responsible, whether a solution is near or not.
While Abbas looks set to continue in his role for now, his popularity, as well as that of the Palestinian Authority, is at an all-time low.
This PA is not useful. This PA is an interim authority that is supposed to take us from here to independence, to a state. The PA is stuck, static, is not taking us anywhere. And Israel is taking a lot of advantage of the current situation of the BA.
Abbas reiterated a commitment to the two-state solution during the speech, while also condemning what he perceives as Israeli overreactions to Palestinian violence. Abbas also had criticism for the international community, which he feels is too preoccupied with other matters.
We've seen a solution for Iran and a solution for Libya and also for Syria. Are we not as good as they are? This conflict came before all the others.
The Palestinian leader added he would call for an international conference to provide a solution to the Palestinian problem, but such efforts have brought about little real progress in the recent past.
Mohammed El-Qasim, I-24 News correspondent and analyst, you were today in Bethlehem. You saw and you heard Abbas's speech, and I'm wondering how come the Palestinians are so surprised that they are not the top priority of the Arab world or the international community right now?
Well, they're not surprised. They're a lot. They're upset that they're not the main issue in the Middle East as they have been for many, many years. And that's why I think that President Abbas and the Palestinian Authority are trying to ignite fire under the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, trying to push their, this cause to the front burner. They know that the United States has given up on bringing the two parties, Israel and Palestine, to the table, negotiating table for the next year, the last year of President Obama's second term in office, and they can't really rely on the Arab states, as many Arab states are busy with their internal issues now. So the Palestinians are trying now to go in a different direction, go through the international community, go through the United Nations again, saying that if you're able to deal with the Iran nuclear file, if you're able to deal with the Syrian, Libyan, and Yemen and other files, why don't you deal with the oldest conflict in the last 100 years?
I'm asking myself, and hearing his speech, and I'm asking myself, didn't he in one way or another play directly to the hands of Benjamin Netanyahu when Benjamin Netanyahu was saying all this time that the Palestinian Authority is the one who's inciting these kids to go out and do what they're doing, that the Palestinian Authority wants the people to go for an uprising because they want to bring maybe the Palestinian issue back on the table? This, in one way or another, and excuse me, whomever is listening to me, is not such a smart move.
Well, listen, there is some credence to what you're saying, that the Palestinian Authority is behind these demonstrations and people going out every day. The Palestinian Authority says that we have every right to go out and peacefully protest and resist the occupation. However, they deny that they are inciting people to go out and kill and run over people with cars. However, two main issues that the President Abbas tried today to send to the world. Basically, he was trying to say that next week there will be a very important meeting, a PLO meeting, that will take decisive steps in dealing with Israel. Two issues: Oslo Accord and the security coordination. That's one. The second issue is now he's appealing, as we've said, to the international community, saying, why don't you have a big convention, big conference about Middle East, the Palestinian issue in the Middle East, and maybe have, we can bring back the Palestinian and Israelis to the table again.
Maybe, who knows? This is a new year. Mohammed El-Qasim, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Israel recently scored a moral victory over the BDS movement when Madrid paid more than $100,000 in compensation to Ariel University in the West Bank. This after Israeli students were barred from a competition sponsored by the Spanish Housing Ministry. Elio Homburg, diplomatic correspondent for the News Today, has the story.
Ariel University has known many battles. Due to its disputed location in the settlement city of Ariel in the West Bank, many entities both in Israel and abroad disregarded its professional virtues, social values, and academic achievements, focusing instead solely on its geographical position. But the university, still standing at the same spot, opened 2016 with a major achievement of 100,000 euros compensation from the Spanish government. Why? For surrendering to the fierce pressure of the BDS movement.
We reached the finals of the decathlon with the other universities from all over the world. The housing minister even came to see our project. And all of a sudden we received a letter disqualifying us because our university is located in the West Bank. It was so disappointing. It was a huge surprise. Nothing hinted that will happen. It wasn't professional.
We found out that it was the BDS that was pushing the government of Spain to push us out. Full stop. We are sorry. It's against the policy of the European Union. It's international law, blah, 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 blah.
This letter, not hiding the discriminatory reasoning, did not take the university by surprise, but it did infuriate them, and this time they had zero intention of letting the BDS movement win.
We decided to sue the Spanish government in Spain. It took them more than a year to find out that they have no legal base for their decision. And then they had to come out with a solution stating that the decision is null and void, that it was taken against the Spanish constitution, and that they will compensate us for some 100,000 euros.
The financial compensation was only the big cherry on top. The moral victory of the already contentious institution is sending a striking message to all anti-Israel movements abroad, and also to its opposition from within.
Where we have from time to time some problems is with governments that try to prevent those higher learning institutions from cooperating with us. For such governments, those decisions that were taken in Spain are a warning. Don't try to tackle with them because they can fight back and there is good chance that they succeed.
And with me now, someone who did a lot in this story, Mark Tell, co-chair of Republicans Abroad Israel. Good evening.
Okay, Lucy, but I'm not here as a Republican tonight. I'm not here as a Republican tonight. I'm here
not as a Republican, but now I know where you were in the last few months.
He deserves a share of the compensation.
Definitely. And Ellie Ochenberg, diplomatic correspondent for the News Today. Good evening.
Good evening, Lucy.
So let's start with reaction that is coming from the Spanish government.
Well, we've asked for one, but we haven't received, we haven't heard from them since, and it's, I can understand why they are not too eager to comment on this issue. It's not a very usual thing, especially for a European government to admit it is discriminating Israel unlawfully. And the thing is that the housing ministry, the Spanish housing ministry, which does not longer exist under this title, when it understood that it is going to face this legal lawsuit, asked for the foreign ministry, the Spanish foreign ministry, to back it with the reasoning, with legal documents of the EU policy that justifies this move, and they couldn't find anything. So they were really in an uncomfortable position, and we've seen that in the end they had to apologize and admit that it was just a severe wrongdoing on their behalf.
You know, I'm asking myself if it's not a victory, if it's not a big victory.
It's huge.
It's a huge victory.
It's huge.
Because, you know, the BDS, we heard about the boycotting Israeli universities, boycotting the academy, boycotting financial industries in Israel.
Ariel University is located in what we call Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. I mean, this is something, this is like the epitome of the ultimate target for BDS. BDS is aimed at all Israeli universities and activities, but Ariel is the perfect scapegoat. And it was an Israeli professor at an Israeli university that started this. Yeah. Okay, and the Spanish government just reacted in a kind of knee-jerk fashion, threw us out. And a lot of people thought at the time, well, we don't have a chance. But we said, okay, we're going to make a case out of this.
It means that if you're taking the BDS movements, let's say in the future, they, of course, we will continue seeing boycotting Israel all over the place. Sure. But if you're taking these, let's say, the BDS movements to court, they don't have any legal basis.
Well, when in most cases, they don't, but every case stands on its own. You're not, this is not going to be a template for but what it is, it should be a kind of a symbol for those who are trying to fight this boycott activity, and encourage them in the cases where the BDS movement is trying to discriminate against Israel, particularly in the academic area. We're talking about academic freedom. We're talking this competition that REL University participated in with other 20 universities was first of all was comprised. Our team was comprised of Arab and Jewish students, and the house that they were building, which we called the Tent of Abraham, quite to talk about welcoming people into the home, into a home that would be energy friendly, environmentally friendly, energy efficient, and helpful to the whole world. That's what this competition was about. It's not about politics. It was about new ideas. And
not
that's
about politics, but the academic branch or the academic the activity of BDS, of the BDS movement in the academic arena is very, very intensive, and we see it throughout Europe, throughout the United States, and we've just seen yesterday a bill presented in California to prevent such activities, to prevent campuses collaborating with those BDS movement, because it's becoming really a highly popular phenomenon that Israel is finding very difficult to fight against.
I'm trying. You were today in Ariel, right? And what were the reactions among the students and among?
Well, they of course consider it a great victory, and how can we blame them? It was very disappointing. They were highly upset when it happened, because they did excel on the professional level.
Yes,
their project
they were the only
received
Israeli
so many,
university.
only Middle Eastern University,
Exactly.
and the housing ministry even came to see their project. So they excelled on the professional level, and on the political level, they were disqualified. It's
and I think
unimaginable.
the percentage of Arab students in this specific university is very high.
Very high, and the Ariel University is, is not only a disputed matter abroad, but also within Israel. It was a long and exhausting process for this university to receive the classification of a university because of such opinions within the Israeli discourse. So it's not just the Tel Aviv University or the Hebrew University in Jerusalem which won this lawsuit, but the Ariel University, which is really extraordinary.
In 1 minute, do you think that Israel is doing enough against the BDS movements?
I think there's a change. I must say that I've had some discussions. I can't go into too many details, but the new Minister of Justice, I think, has a whole different way of looking at this, and instead of taking a passive role, which we encountered when we began this lawsuit, the Israeli government was very, very reticent to be involved. But I think there's a new way, a new change, a new approach to this, and I think they're going to be more proactive, and I think less reactive, more proactive, and I think that's important, because
we
if we
have a minister in charge of that now, Gilad Erdan.
That's
this
right.
Is, one of his
he
roles.
has a whole staff on this. I think we can look forward to making real progress, and this case should give them a lot of incentive and hope for success in the future.
Eli Ochenberg, Mark Tell, thank you very much for this. Thank you, in general.
Lucy, it's always a pleasure, in whatever capacity.
Going out for 2 minutes and